Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the weekend class and it's time to do some shares or questions. You can unmute or type in, and with what time we have left, we'll get busy and do something. So go ahead and fire away.
Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, I just got to reiterate again, that's got to be the most transformative class that I've been in. Um, my outlook on everything is just different. It's just
Yeah, it
very,
really is amazing.
very different.
Yeah. And so you want to hear the crazy part?
Yeah, tell me
Not even
more.
the strongest version of that class.
Really?
No, like
Let's, let's,
the extra pieces, it's too much at first. But like we could go deeper on, and same with the one for the moon. Uh,
mhm.
you know, when we do a 2.0, we'll go through and we'll do it with the symbols. But like everything, there could be the use of alchemical versions of it, and then there's use of using the mystical tools. And as we start to kind of go down this road of the mentoring and things like that, that's part of what I'll be doing is individuals, depending on where they're at with their practice, is like
Okay,
when we have a class that really resonates with you, is because we're practicing all these different pieces. Now I can go, let's take three or four of these different things and make a practice for you that's
okay.
based on those things we're already doing, and we can take that practice and go much deeper. And so, we're even, how we're laying out the classes, but um, we're in the process behind the scenes of pulling together and doing um, books like like the angel class with the angel encyclopedia, but we're doing it like in a book form. There's going to be a few things that you can have as like encyclopedias and book forms as references, but as we go through and we do the mentoring, just to have like these different pieces that you can pull up and access and open things up. And I'm going to have all this stuff to where you can just go to either the website, an old class, the blog, or we're going to be putting out like little series of like little small books that are just things that you could just pop up and open. And so
Great. They're going to be
we're,
electronic too.
there'll be electronic, there'll probably be more electronic than like the Angel Encyclopedia is going to go to print.
Okay,
And the 76 names of Metatron is going to go to print. And next year the tarot book will go to print.
okay.
But the first wave of like working the tarot components, because really the tarot isn't about like doing card readings, it's about like how we went deeper on Mercury, like the tarot
Right.
is going deeper on the
Chakras.
elements, and
Okay,
then the path of like things especially associated with the ajna, like the journey of your development, going through and refining that. And so, it's taken a long time to kind of pull all these pieces together, but
right, right,
it's getting so close to being able to push it all forward. So
right.
it's kind of an exciting time. At least for me, it's very exciting.
Yeah, well,
I
it's
thought
kind of
I'd be like
humbling.
75 or 80 when I'd be doing all this stuff. I get to,
Well, it's kind of reaching a fruition or a
yeah, yeah,
culmination of a lot of things
yeah,
probably for you.
yeah.
You
Well,
know,
a lot of these practices are very like inner practices, and so taking them to the public, it's always kind of a hard thing to kind of figure out how to do, and
right,
and doing these things the way that they're doing, we can serve more people than just how we would do it in the old days. The weird thing, COVID accelerated all of it.
yeah,
You know, as bizarre as that whole situation was, COVID, not saying that it was a good thing, but that bad thing definitely facilitated some really good things happening, which is weird.
Yeah, isn't that kind of paradoxical,
Yeah.
in that perspective?
It's that thing from the heart.
Yeah, we were just talking about that.
Something can be very nasty and very good both at
Yeah,
the same
there's a,
time.
yeah,
Oh my God. Like, the heart sees it so much differently than our mind.
yeah, yeah. Well, again, like when we were talking with the class too, right?
Yeah.
It's the intellectual pieces versus the whole kind of thing.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's a interesting too that there was a concept. I got to look at this site. I just looked this up. Oh, I was talking with my niece the other day. This Ho'oponopono, which is in essence the I'm sorry, thank you, I'm
Sure.
sorry, please, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you kind of
Mhm.
affirmation. And I actually ended up doing that a lot. Where'd you go? I don't know what session you're on anymore. Oh, I kind of lost you. Oh, well. But I did that yesterday.
Mhm.
It was huge.
Oh, yeah.
Don't know if in culmination or in combination with just the class we went through, but that was really something else.
No, I think that's a wonderful thing. Like the thing that I would say is, you're saying, I'm sorry, even if it's not a situation that has anything to do with you. That's the thing that's also amazing about it. As I know of several therapists that they'll go through and they'll do that with their clients or their patients. And it's not because of their interaction or anything. They just start doing the practice. And, if you think about like how we we look at the world and how we interact with the world. We were kind of talking about it last night in the Q&A a little bit.
Missed that.
Whenever we start to do something, we always start external. Like we always start with it from an intellectual point of view, from a past experience, from a hypothetical, from what other people have told us might happen, like fears, whatever. But we spend time trying to do something externally and change it so that it makes us feel better, feel different, feel happier, less pain, whatever it is, right? And so, really, what happens there is um, we tend to make it worse, we tend to exaggerate it, and we start to create a kind of resistance. And it's something that has to be repeated and maintained because that's also coming from the point of view of intellect, and it's stimulating a fight flight response. But basically, the reason being we've created a power struggle. Like we've created a power struggle with nature itself, right? And so when you go through and you look at it from even when you have nothing to do with the situation and you go,
Mhm.
hey, I'm sorry. Thank you for forgiving me. I love you. Whatever version of that is. Part of it is you're shifting from that external projection and you're coming to a place of like observation and about letting something in. But forgiveness, another way of saying forgiveness is transmutation. You're transmuting something. Even if it has nothing to do with you, you're still transmuting it. And you are starting to shift over to that more intuitive part of the mind. And so the thing, we were kind of talking about it again last night is like what happens when you start doing a spiritual practice and you do the thing where you go, okay, I feel it in my body, I feel it in my mind, I feel it in the emotions, and you look at all your past events and your Uncle Bob's and the triggers and everything, and you get it to the point where you go, God, when I look at these situations, I really don't feel a lot. Like I don't have the reaction, I don't have the trigger, and it doesn't mean we're completely resolved. It just means that it's gotten better, which is great. But still, you have those situations where somebody might come in and be causing you a little funk or a little something. And, it's that idea that they're like a mirror to you, or certain situations, um, bother you. And you can start using those situations and you go, okay, I look at that situation. Like for me, I do it with the news. I go through it, I look at the news, and I'm not even like following particular things. I just start scanning the news. I like a world events, I like a local things. I just look at like little trends and I wait for something to kind of trigger me. And then I do like a little practice of that. Okay, feel it in the body, feel it in the mind.
Oh, wow.
What happens. And sometimes I might bless the situation, but I definitely do a thing where I feel it in the body. And the idea being that regardless of what it is, there is some sort of little trigger there, that like little stirring of something. And it might not be personal, but there's Velcro in there somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that idea of like the Ho'oponopono, if I'm even saying that right, is that how you say it?
Ho'oponopono.
Ho'oponopono, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
How are you saying
oh,
it?
yeah, yeah, there's a
Yeah.
little apostrophe in there. Yeah.
So the whole thing with forgiveness, um, there's a little piece of it that is, for one, you're going intuitive, but part of what you're doing is not because it's the other person or not because there's something in the news or something, but you're acknowledging that there's a little piece in you that you're going to take responsibility for. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Oh,
Like
that
you go,
practice. Yeah.
okay, I see this conflict between Russia and Ukraine, and however somebody looks at it, it stirs something there. Well, yes, there's the external situation, but there's also that internal Velcro of, what is that stirring? And to intellectually figure it out really is like, maybe it helps, maybe it doesn't. But there is some sort of little thing that goes a little bit deeper that stirs something in the unconscious. And that idea of I'm sorry, I forgive you, forgive me, whatever it is. For me, I use like a mala, and I do mea culpa, like mea culpa, mea culpa, mea culpa, mea culpa,
Okay.
which is basically the same version of that. It's just old school. But a lot
Okay.
of times it will increase my awareness of a particular situation, that like, oh, I see that pattern in myself, or oh, uh, I feel like I made a big mistake in that area a very long time ago, whatever it might be. Uh,
Right.
I make
Yeah.
the joke about politics all the time because I know I was naughty at some point in politics. I don't know how many lifetimes ago, but like when it's there, like I know, like there's that inner voice that goes, "Careful, you remember what you did." Ugh, and so some version of that, like when I have a situation where I go at the pattern and I can't figure it out, and I can't resolve it, and I don't seem to be making any kind of progress on it. And for me, like what I'll also do is I'll do some acts of service, or I'll do something, and then I'll decree karma that something in that situation, something in that pattern, moves, heals, resolves, evolves, whatever it is. And so, sometimes I tithe, sometimes I do service, sometimes I do a little both, whatever it might be. And then if even that sometimes that will do a lot to some things, but there's still some things that it just doesn't do something for. So I do that thing where I observe it, I feel it in the body, I keep connected to it, and then I start doing mea culpa, mea culpa, mea culpa, mea culpa, mea culpa, mea culpa. And I don't really talk about that practice too much because the forgiveness thing can be a very touchy subject for people. Like, I tried teaching a bunch of that maybe about 15 years ago. And it was hard to get people to listen to it. So, I changed some of the verbiage and talked about it a little bit differently, but the hardcore going at it from the point of view of transmutation, I usually do that with people on more of a one-on-one basis because I can kind of feel out where they're at and just give them instructions of like where they're at for them to do the practice. But I find it to be a very, very powerful practice. But the thing that I noticed that I found very odd, and this was about like the 15 years ago, maybe even a little bit longer, 20 years ago. I used to do lectures and teach like little short like classes, like little 2-hour classes, like at different churches, and some of the more open churches. And there was people going around and teaching workshops, and there was this philosophy of never apologize. Don't give
Really?
your power away, never apologize. And so I was like,
That's kind of
that's super bizarre to me because these are Christian churches and like, ugh. And
doesn't sound good karmically either.
no, and it kind of goes to show like when the intellect starts getting in there, it starts making, they had all kinds of reasons and rationales. And the first few times I tried talking it out with the minister, and they were having no part of it. And so I just was like, I'm gonna have to be really careful about how I talk about these things. And, there's a season for things. Sometimes it's just not the season. And, you wait for something else to kind of come along and, I don't know, but if you feel drawn to do that practice, any version of it, I always think it's good. I mean, it's basically just transmutation. The thing is that I understand the thing about the forgiveness part. Like, mm, I go back to like when I was really kind of struggling with the idea of forgiveness. And not that I'm like completely evolved in that area. I'm just better than I was. You know what I'm saying? And I can remember thinking like, I don't want to be a doormat. I don't want there to be a thing where like what they did was okay. And, I wanted them to acknowledge or at least realize that they had hurt me or hurt my feelings or maliciously hurt me, whatever it was.
Right.
And, you know, there is that little bit of the biology of like if you hurt me, I'm going to hurt you. That whole thing from the Bible, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth.
Bit of a knee jerk.
That's in your biology. And so, I wasn't consciously thinking about it, but there were times when I'd look at the behavior and I was like, yeah, I kind of wanted them to like feel what I was feeling. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't wishing it on them, but if I really sat and was being really truthful with myself in the unconscious, I could see the behavior there. I didn't think I was motivated by it, but in deep stillness, I could see it. And so I understand why people have a hard time with it, but a lot of times, it's like the thing with the news. It's not personal. Like it's not because I felt like I had something to do with the Ukraine war or Russia doing this or Ukraine doing that or, the things happening in Gaza or the shootings that happen at the different schools or, shopping malls or whatever. But something in them like really was upsetting to me. And so it's like it's hitting some Velcro somewhere. There's the obvious, like it's violence and people are being hurt and those kinds of things.
Air and
But
all, yeah.
when I would sit and do the mea culpa to those, I even have a special little mala that's just my mea culpa mala. Um, uh, I would have like kind of awakenings in the mind of certain tendencies, or most times they weren't from this lifetime, but I was like, oh, there's that little pattern in there, or there's that little way of thinking, or I can see how people think in these weird ways, or whatever it might be. And so
But it's
even
a
the
kind of
idea, what's that?
it's kind of a way to free it up though, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it's kind of
totally.
like,
Yeah,
I mean, if it's Velcro, well, to me, like that's what I was feeling too.
yeah,
Like if it's stuck, then it's got to move, right? Depending,
right.
at least, it might not move in the direction that you want it to begin with, but at least it's kind of moving.
I, I, and I would say that it's almost like there's just a tension that starts to get released because really all you're really doing when you say I'm sorry or mea culpa or please forgive me is you're breaking out of a kind of repetition. It doesn't matter whose fault it is. It doesn't even matter if you were involved. You're just breaking out of a repetition. And, I'd say over the years, the things that I noticed, not just in myself, but in, doing so many sessions, God, I've done like over 100,000 hours of therapy. And a lot of it I remember more patterns than specific situations. But you know say somebody does something to somebody else, they go over there and they hit them or do whatever. There's the person that caused the pain, and then there's the person that had the pain inflicted upon them. But at some point it doesn't matter who did what, you're engaged in that weird drama. Like,
Mhm.
there's a weird dynamic there that just because you were the one that had something happen to you doesn't mean that you're free from whatever that is, that dance of whatever it is. And it doesn't mean that you have to apologize to the other person, but because of that, there is like a movement or a momentum of something that you do need to break out of. And so that's why you see like little kids who were maybe physically beaten when they were young, when they're older, they end up beating their children or they end up beating other people or
Yep. Yep.
people that have had, some sort of abuse end up not always, but there's the potential of them being abusers as they were older,
Sure.
you know. And so, um, whatever the reason is that we got there, we're always trying to find our soul, not trying to just make these intellectual situations like be in some sort of order. And the thing is when we're always coming from the place of intellect, it's almost like we forget about the soul and we start getting concerned about how things look, the order of things, and how we're going to label it and put it on the shelf.
Right.
And we can be very, very busy with that and completely forget about who we are. Like completely forget about it.
Like
And
where
so
we
that
came
idea of going to finding it in the body, feeling it in the body, doing something like that, or you took it a whole nother direction and went, okay, I'm doing a thing where I'm doing forgiveness, or, the mea culpa thing. It breaks out of whatever that repetition was, because even when the act is done to you, something goes into repetition. That thing starts to go into a repetition. And so, like, how do we break out of those repetitions? That's always the goal, but a lot of times the details keep us from remembering or understanding the mechanics of what's happening, you know. And so, that you felt drawn to do that, I think that's great. That's amazing. Some people might be ready to do it, some people might not. There's other ways of doing it, but I find it a very fast way to break out of something. Yeah, very, very fast way, even if it's stuff that was done to me, you know. And if you think about the idea of Christ or Krishna, or in Buddhism, Maitreya,
Who?
the idea is for that kind of transmutation.
Mhm.
So forgiveness is like a very fast path, because it's a path of transmutation.
Right. Who was the Buddhist person?
Maitreya, the Buddha Maitreya. Christians are
Maitreya.
waiting for Christ. Buddhists are waiting for Maitreya.
Maitreya.
Yeah,
Uh, uh,
yeah.
yeah, it's really interesting to experience with that, or just observe that feeling, right? The one that comes up with the blockage
Mhm.
thing. It's like you always want to respond to it, right? You always want to
Right,
do
right, right.
something about
Yeah,
it,
yeah, yeah,
you know? Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Certainly.
Good for you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so we kind of did a thing where we were observing situations, both from the heart and then from the forehead, back head, and this was a way to gather more information. And so we're going to practice that again right now. So you're going to need your attractolodes, you're going to need your alatari, and you're going to need your blend embodiment. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to observe some situation where we'd like to have clarity or gather information. So this can be a past situation or a past event, but sometimes it could be like a goal or a thing that you're trying to achieve. Sometimes I do this even in the situation like what we were talking about with Dan, or deeper levels of awareness and understanding in spiritual teachings, or psychological teachings, or, whatever it might be. So if you want deeper knowledge or wisdom in a particular subject matter, you can focus on the subject matter. So you have your subject, you're observing it. And then with your tract loads, begin inhaling with your awareness on the front heart. You're taking nice, long, slow, deep breaths. Your awareness is on the back heart. Your awareness is on the back heart. Your awareness is on the back heart, the area between the shoulder blades. And just pause and be still. Just pause and be still. Now we're going to pull out the Alatari. So again, reflect on that situation. Observe that situation, whatever it is you're observing. and continue to observe that situation, but now your awareness is on your forehead and your back head at the same time. You're observing, your awareness is on your forehead and back head. And now begin inhaling the oil. Nice, long, slow, deep breath. How you doing? And then just be still. Pause, keep your eyes closed, just let it incubate. Let everything go. Back me out again. Okay, you're still observing that situation. Your awareness is on the forehead and back head both at the same time. You're observing. Your awareness is on your forehead and back head. You're taking nice, long, slow, deep breaths. And then pause and be still. Now let's pull out the embodiment blend, but before we start inhaling, let's just have it in our hand ready to go. But you're going to pay attention to your body. You're going to observe your body. You're observing your body. Wherever you feel something in your body, just keep your awareness on that area and observe. As you observe that area, you're taking nice, long, slow, deep breaths with the embodiment blend. You're inhaling, you're taking nice, long, slow, deep breaths. And just pause. Just feel the stillness, feel the peace. And if there's information that starts to arise in the mind, just observe. Okay, let's go ahead. Does anybody want to share or ask a question or get a mute or type in? Share. We can still squeeze in another round. How about we just do the embodiment part again? Observe your body. Wherever you're observing, continue to observe while you inhale the embodiment blend. And then just be still. Just be still. Okay, we have a second if anybody wants to share or ask a question. Well, it was a very strong class. I'm glad you guys liked it, and there were so many positive, good shares through the weekend. People having good, deep healing experiences, and I'd say any of the planetary aspects that we work are really tied to a kind of oneness practice and has to do with consciousness. And so, you know, this helps to wake up parts of you that, maybe weren't getting to come out and play as much. So, um, yeah, thanks for doing that with us. So, we're going to move over to the mystical practice, which is the Manjushri sword tonight. And so if you're joining us for that, we'll see you in a couple minutes. And if not, we have a weekend that really it's open to anybody. It's helpful if you had the angelic encyclopedia, but if you have some angels and some of the vagal tone work, we're going to take vagal tone and angels to a much deeper level, to a deeper degree. So hopefully you can join us this weekend. Take care.